Security hacker. A security hacker is someone who explores methods for breaching defenses and exploiting weaknesses in a computer system or network. Hackers may be motivated by a multitude of reasons, such as profit, protest, information gathering, challenge, recreation, or evaluation of a system. Weaknesses. To assist in formulating defenses against potential hackers. Long-standing controversy surrounds the meaning of the term hacker. In this controversy, computer programmers reclaim the term hacker, arguing that it refers simply to someone with an advanced understanding of computers and computer networks, and that cracker is the more appropriate term for those who break into computers. Whether computer criminals black hats or computer security experts white hats, a 2014 article noted that the black hat meaning still prevails among the general public. The subculture that has evolved around hackers is often referred to as the computer underground. Birth of subculture and entering mainstream 1960s-1980s. The subculture around such hackers is termed network hacker subculture, hacker scene, or computer underground. It initially developed in the context of phreaking during the 1960s and the microcomputer BBS scene of the 1980s. It is implicated with 2600, the Hacker Quarterly, and the ALT 2600 news group. In 1980, an article in the August issue of Psychology Today, with commentary by Phillips and Bardo, used the term hacker in its title, The Hacker Papers. It was an excerpt from a Stanford bulletin board discussion on the addictive nature of computer use. In the 1982 film Tron, Kevin Flynn Jeff Bridges describes his intentions to break into Income's computer system, saying, "I've been doing a little hacking here." CLU is the software he uses for this. By 1983, hacking in the sense of breaking computer security had already been in use as computer jargon, but there was no public awareness about such activities. However, the release of the film War Games that year, featuring a computer intrusion into NORAD, raised the public belief that computer security hackers, especially teenagers, could be a threat to national security. This concern became real when, in the same year, a gang of teenage hackers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, known as the 414s, broke into computer systems throughout the United States and Canada, including those of Los Alamos National Laboratory, Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and Security Pacific Bank. The case quickly grew media attention, and 17-year-old Neil Patrick emerged as the spokesman for the gang, including a cover story in Newsweek entitled "Beware, Hackers at Play," with Patrick's photograph on the cover. The Newsweek article appears to be the first use of the word hacker by the mainstream media in the pejorative sense. Pressured by media coverage, Congressman Dan Glickman called for an investigation and began work on new laws against computer hacking. Neil Patrick testified before the U.S. House of Representatives on September 26, 1983, about the dangers of computer hacking, and 6 bills concerning computer crime were introduced in the House that year. As a result of these laws against computer criminality, white hat, grey hat, and black hat hackers try to distinguish themselves from each other depending on the legality of their activities. These moral conflicts are expressed in the Mentors The Hacker Manifesto, published 1986 in Frac. Use of the term hacker, meaning computer criminal, was also advanced by the title Stalking the Wily Hacker, an article by Clifford Stoll in the May 1988 issue of the Communications of the ACM. Later that year, the release by Robert Tappan Morris, Jr., of the so-called Morris worm provoked the popular media to spread this usage. The popularity of Stoll's book, The Cuckoo's Egg, published 1 year later, further entrenched the term in the public's consciousness. In computer security, a hacker is someone who focuses on the security mechanisms of computer and network systems. Hackers can include someone who endeavors to strengthen security mechanisms by exploring their weaknesses, and also those who seek to access secure, unauthorized information despite security measures. Nevertheless, parts of the subculture see their aim in correcting security problems and use the word in a positive sense. White hat is the name given to ethical computer hackers who utilize hacking in a helpful way. White hats are becoming a necessary part of the information security field. They operate under a code which acknowledges that breaking into other people's computers is bad. but that discovering and exploiting security mechanisms and breaking into computers is still an interesting activity that can be done ethically and legally. Accordingly, the term bears strong connotations that are favorable or pejorative, depending on the context. Subgroups of the computer underground with different attitudes and motives use different terms to demarcate themselves from each other. These classifications are also used to exclude specific groups with whom they do not agree. Cracker. Eric S. Raymond, author of the New Hackers Dictionary, advocates that members of the computer underground should be called crackers. Yet, those people see themselves as hackers and even try to include the views of Raymond in what they see as a wider hacker culture, a view that Raymond has harshly rejected. Instead of a hacker or cracker dichotomy, they emphasize a spectrum of different categories such as white hat, grey hat, black hat, and script kiddie. In contrast to Raymond, they usually reserve the term cracker for more malicious activity. According to Ralph D. Clifford, a cracker or cracking is to gain unauthorized access to a computer in order to commit another crime, such as destroying information contained in that system. These subgroups may also be defined by the legal status of their activities. White hat. A white hat hacker breaks security for non-malicious reasons, either to test their own security system, perform penetration tests or vulnerability assessments for a client, or while working for a security company that makes security software. The term is generally synonymous with ethical hacker and certifications. Courseware, classes, and online training covering the diverse arena of ethical hacking have been developed. Black hat. A black hat hacker is a hacker who violates computer security for little reason beyond maliciousness or for personal gain. Moore, 2005. The term was coined by Richard Stallman to contrast the maliciousness of a criminal hacker versus the spirit of playfulness and exploration in hacker culture, or the ethos of the white hat hacker who performs hacking duties to identify places to repair or as a means of legitimate employment. 19 black hat hackers form the stereotypical, illegal hacking groups often portrayed in popular culture, and are the epitome of all that the public fears in a computer criminal. Grey hat. Main article, grey hat. A grey hat hacker lies between a black hat and a white hat hacker, hacking for ideological reasons. A grey hat hacker may surf the internet and hack into a computer system for the sole purpose of notifying the administrator that their system has a security defect, for example. They may then offer to correct the defect for a fee. Grey hat hackers sometimes find the defect in a system and publish the facts to the world instead of a group of people. Even though grey hat hackers may not necessarily perform hacking for their personal gain, unauthorized access to a system can be considered illegal and unethical. Elite hacker. A social status among hackers, elite, is used to describe the most skilled. Newly discovered exploits circulate among these hackers. Elite groups such as Masters of Deception conferred a kind of credibility on their members. Script kiddie. A script kiddie, also known as a skid or skiddy, is an unskilled hacker who breaks into computer systems by using automated tools. Written by others, usually by other black hat hackers, hence the term script eye. A computer script that automates the hacking kiddie eye. Kid, immature, usually with little understanding of the underlying concept. Neophyte. A neophyte, newbie, or noob is someone who is new to hacking or phreaking and has almost no knowledge or experience of the workings of technology and hacking. Blue hat. A blue hat hacker is someone outside computer security consulting firms who is used to bug test a system prior to its launch, looking for exploits so they can be closed. Microsoft also uses the term blue hat to represent a series of security briefing events. Hacktivist. A hacktivist is a hacker who utilizes technology to publicize a social, ideological, religious, or political message. Hacktivism can be divided into two main groups: cyberterrorism involving website defacement or denial of service attacks, and freedom of information, making information that is not public or is public in non-machine readable formats accessible to the public. Nation-state. Intelligence agencies and cyber warfare operatives of nation-states. Organized criminal gangs. Groups of hackers that carry out organized criminal activities for profit. Modern-day computer hackers have been compared to the privateers of bygone days. These criminals hold computer systems hostage, demanding large payments from victims to restore access to their own computer systems and data. Furthermore, recent ransomware attacks on industries including energy, food, and transportation have been blamed on criminal organizations based in or near a state actor, possibly with the country's knowledge and approval. Cyber theft and ransomware attacks are now the fastest growing crimes in the United States. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies facilitate the extortion of huge ransoms from large companies, hospitals, and city governments with little or no chance of being caught. Attacks. Hackers can usually be sorted into two types of attacks: mass attacks and targeted attacks. They are sorted into the groups in terms of how they choose their victims and how they act on the attacks. A typical approach in an attack on internet-connected system is network enumeration, discovering information about the intended target; vulnerability analysis, identifying potential ways of attack; exploitation, attempting to compromise the system by employing the vulnerabilities found through the vulnerability analysis. In order to do so, there are several recurring tools of the trade and techniques used by computer criminals and security experts. Security exploits. A security exploit is a prepared application that takes advantage of a known weakness. Common examples of security exploits are SQL injection, cross-site scripting, and cross-site request forgery, which abuse security holes that may result from substandard programming practice. Other exploits would be able to be used through File Transfer Protocol (FTP), Hypertext Transfer Protocol (HTTP), PHP, Telnet, and some web pages. These are very common in website and web domain hacking. Techniques. Vulnerability scanner. A vulnerability scanner is a tool used to quickly check computers on a network for known weaknesses. Hackers also commonly use port scanners. These check to see which ports on a specified computer are open or available to access the computer, and sometimes will detect what program or service is listening on that port and its version number. Firewalls defend computers from intruders by limiting access to ports and machines, but they can still be circumvented. Finding vulnerabilities. Hackers may also attempt to find vulnerabilities manually. A common approach is to search for possible vulnerabilities in the code of the computer system, then test them. Sometimes reverse engineering the software if the code is not provided. Experienced hackers can easily find patterns in code to find common vulnerabilities. Brute force attack. Password guessing. Brute force attacks are used to quickly check all short password variations. For longer passwords, other methods such as the dictionary attack are used because of the amount of time a brute force search takes. Password cracking. Password cracking is the process of recovering passwords from data that has been stored in or transmitted by a computer system. Common approaches include repeatedly trying guesses for the password, trying the most common passwords by hand, and repeatedly trying passwords from a dictionary or a text file with many passwords. Packet analyzer. A packet analyzer, packet sniffer, is an application that captures data packets, which can be used to capture passwords and other data in transit over the network. Spoofing attack. Phishing. A spoofing attack involves one program, system, or website that successfully masquerades as another by falsifying data and is thereby treated as a trusted system by a user or another program, usually to fool programs, systems, or users into revealing confidential information, such as usernames and passwords. Rootkit. A rootkit is a program that uses low-level, hard-to-detect methods to subvert control of an operating system from its legitimate operators. Rootkits usually obscure their installation and attempt to prevent their removal through a subversion of standard system security. They may include replacements for system binaries, making it virtually impossible for them to be detected by checking process tables. Social engineering. In the second stage of the targeting process, hackers often use social engineering tactics to get enough information to access the network. They may contact the system administrator and pose as a user who cannot get access to his or her system. This technique is portrayed in the 1995 film Hackers, when protagonist Dade Zero Cool Murphy calls a somewhat clueless employee in charge of security at a television network. Posing as an accountant working for the same company, Dade tricks the employee into giving him the phone number of a modem so he can gain access to the company's computer system. Hackers who use this technique must be familiar with their target's security practices in order to trick the system administrator into giving them information. In some cases, a help desk employee with limited security experience will answer the phone and be relatively easy to trick. Another approach is for the hacker to pose as an angry supervisor, and when his or her authority is questioned, threaten to fire the help desk worker. Social engineering is very effective because users are the most vulnerable part of an organization. No security devices or programs can keep an organization safe if an employee reveals a password to an unauthorized person. Social engineering can be broken down into 4 subgroups. Intimidation. As in the angry supervisor technique above, the hacker convinces the person who answers the phone that their job is in danger unless they help them. At this point, many people accept that the hacker is a supervisor and give them the information they seek. Helpfulness. The opposite of intimidation, helpfulness exploits many people's natural instinct to help others solve problems. Rather than acting angry, the hacker acts distressed and concerned. The help desk is the most vulnerable to this type of social engineering, as A, its general purpose is to help people, and B, it usually has the authority to change or reset passwords, which is exactly what the hacker wants. Name dropping. The hacker uses names of authorized users to convince the person who answers the phone that the hacker is a legitimate user, him or herself. Some of these names, such as those of web page owners or company officers, can easily be obtained online. Hackers have also been known to obtain names by examining discarded documents. Dumpster diving. Technical. Using technology is also a way to get information. A hacker can send a fax or email to a legitimate user seeking a response that contains vital information. The hacker may claim that he or she is involved in law enforcement and needs certain data for an investigation or for record-keeping purposes. Trojan horses. A Trojan horse is a program that seems to be doing one thing but is actually doing another. It can be used to set up a backdoor in a computer system, enabling the intruder to gain access later. The name refers to the horse from the Trojan War, with the conceptually similar function of deceiving defenders into bringing an intruder into a protected area. Computer virus. A virus is a self-replicating program that spreads by inserting copies of itself into other executable code or documents. By doing this, it behaves similarly to a biological virus, which spreads by inserting itself into living cells. While some viruses are harmless or mere hoaxes, most are considered malicious. Computer worm. Like a virus, a worm is also a self-replicating program. It differs from a virus in that A, it propagates through computer networks without user intervention, and B, does not need to attach itself to an existing program. Nonetheless, many people use the terms virus and worm interchangeably to describe any self-propagating program. Keystroke logging. A keylogger is a tool designed to log every keystroke on an affected machine for later retrieval, usually to allow the user of this tool to gain access to confidential information typed on the affected machine. Some keyloggers use virus, Trojan, and rootkit-like methods to conceal themselves. However, some of them are used for legitimate purposes, even to enhance computer security. For example, a business may maintain a keylogger on a computer used at a point of sale to detect evidence of employee fraud. Attack patterns. Attack patterns are defined as series of repeatable steps that can be applied to simulate an attack against the security of a system. They can be used for testing purposes or locating potential vulnerabilities. They also provide, either physically or in reference, a common solution pattern for preventing a given attack. Tools and procedures. A thorough examination of hacker tools and procedures may be found in Cengage Learning's CSA Certification Workbook.